All right, we'll start with 2007, 2008. This was around the time that I started using GAMP. I started using GAMP because I was playing this game IMVU, and all of the people had avatars in there, and their profile pictures would look very professionally edited. And I would ask them, how'd you do it? And they would tell me they use Photoshop or GAMP. I first used GAMP because they said GAMP would make more sense for me at the time. And then after a while using GAMP for a good like 6 months to a year, I transitioned to Photoshop and I never looked back. From that day on, I got super obsessed with Photoshop. I did it every single day. I Photoshopped everything I could. I taught myself how to retouch. I did a lot of collage work, a lot of graphic design. I was looking up to artists like Joel Jusco and Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell. I wanted to learn how to draw and then transfer it into Photoshop so I could color it. So basically I wanted to be a digital artist. That was my plan. Fast forward to 2010, 2011. This is the Tumblr era when every teenager had a professional camera. My dad was a professional photographer himself. I asked him if he had another camera to give, and he gave me his camera. But the thing is, when I got his camera, my plan was to use it for graphic design. I wanted to create more collage work, more fantasy work. And then fast forward, one day one of my friends said she wanted a Facebook picture, and I offered to take her pictures. And I liked the pictures, she liked the pictures, everybody else liked the pictures. So I was like, maybe I could do this. I didn't want to be a portrait photographer, but I wanted to be a fashion photographer. It made sense for me to choose fashion photography because at one point I wanted to be a fashion designer, and I would always reblog fashion images on my Tumblr, and I've always been obsessed with fashion. After I took those images, I made the decision I'm going to become a fashion photographer. And once I made that decision, I went 100% in. I learned every single thing you could think of about the camera, photography, and fashion. That was my whole personality for about 3 years. I taught myself lighting from blogs, YouTube. I taught myself everything you have to know about fashion. I learned about every fashion designer, every fashion magazine, watched every documentary. I learned about every photographer, Richard Avedon, Helmut Newton, Stephen Klein, Merton Marcus. I remember just slobbering over their images and having their images be my destination. I was like, this is how my images have to look like, and I will not stop until they look like this. With that in mind, every single week, me and my friends would plan photo shoots, different ideas, different clothes, and shout out to them because they helped me a lot. It was so much fun. These are experiences I'll never forget. I remember just us running around and just having a lot of fun. And even looking back at these images today, I could say I'm proud of them. And fast forward to 2013, I finally graduated high school, and this is when things start taking off, sort of. I contacted some modeling agencies and I started photographing their models, testing as they would call it. I was doing that often as well. And the thing about those images, Miami is a market that likes the beach, bikinis, guys with abs, sunny pictures, and that's not really my style. I'm more of a dark, grungy, in your face, provocative. I like high fashion work. I like very high fashion work, and Miami's more commercial, more beach, more. So those were the kind of images I had to take when I was there, and I'm extremely happy about the experiences that I had there, meeting these people, meeting the models, and making a lot of people very happy. But there is a disconnect, I feel, towards those images because I just remember at the time wanting more than what I was producing. But around this time, I got my first magazine cover. I was doing editorial work as well, and I was also working on some personal projects. Fast forward to 2014, I did take a year off after high school. I finally moved to New York in 2014 for college, and this was around the time when things start really picking up. I'm going towards a direction where I'm liking my work more. I'm meeting my college peers and we're collaborating. I'm happy. I'm in New York. This is the city that I've always wanted to be in. So I didn't necessarily want to be in school, but I was in New York, so I was happy. At the beginning of 2015, started pretty good as well. I'm taking the pictures that I want, meeting even more people, meeting models, makeup artists, stylists. It's a nice time. But in the middle of 2015, I went through this very nasty drought. I just remembered wanting to create so much, but not having the opportunity to. I mean, I had the opportunity, I could have created, but something was just stopping me. Everything I was making was just not good. And it was just, ugh. But fast forward to later that year, my pictures are becoming what I want them to become. I am finally happy with my pictures. I am happy we're here. This is the style that I want to achieve. This is the look. And I'm happy as hell. This is beginning 2016. We're now in 2016. I'm happy as hell. We're in the realms of what I want to create. This is the look. We're here. This is the style. So I'm photographing every week, every day even. The school had terrific equipment, terrific studios. So I was using that every single day. I did a lot of editorials around this time, featured in a lot of magazines around this time. We're in 2016. This is where my journey with eroticism begins. So I always loved nude photography. I started shooting classic black and white nudes, but also narrative and character work. And my first character was Monica, and she was a prostitute. Prostitutes or escorts, they advertise themselves to what they call a tart cards. And I thought this would be a cool art piece to make for Monica, like her fictional prostitute advertisements. So from wanting to mimic that, I created this right here, which I initially called my version of pop art. I'm a huge fan of Andy Warhol and the pop art movement. And so that was my inspiration at the time. But as I'm doing this and changing the skin color and photoshopping, I'm realizing I could take this very far. This was definitely around the time where my love for fashion photography was slowly fading. All of a sudden, I discovered like this new world of possibilities. All right, so now we're in 2017. I am still doing a lot of nude photography. I am still doing a lot of character photography, but I started doing my first art series, and I initially titled it Objectify Me. I basically just wanted to objectify the body as a statement to show that it's not a big deal. It's just a human body. No matter what form it takes, it could still be beautiful. I wanted to pose the models in the most provocative ways and edit them in the most beautiful way I could. I want to show you that the human body, no matter what form it takes, it will always be beautiful. My whole philosophy on life in general, no matter what form it is, there's a possibility for it to be beautiful. Beauty is everywhere. So come 2018, I'm still doing erotic photography, but I am still doing fashion photography as well. The goal of every fashion photographer is to get a big fashion campaign. And finally, I sort of got mine. I got to work with GCDS, and they wanted to use my newfound style, and I was so excited because that gave me all the affirmation that I needed, that this is a legit style that could be used. And I was thankful because somebody established saw my vision. So for me to do it was exciting. So around this time, after I got my first campaign, I still want to do fashion photography, but I didn't want to do it just to do it anymore. Like, I want to do it on a serious level. I want to get campaigns. So to do that, I had to get an agent. So that whole year, 2018, I was looking for an agent. Around this time, as I'm looking for an agent, I released the coffee table book of Voyeurs Law, which was nude men showering and sleeping. And I also released my first photo comic book, Monica, which was pretty much a story of, Monica, who's a prostitute. So as I'm searching for an agent, I finally got an agent. Well, I didn't get an agent. I got one to answer. The one that spoke to me, he's looking at my work, going through everything, and then he says he's confused. He doesn't know what I'm trying to do. And I'm not gonna lie, I was confused too. I didn't really want to do fashion photography anymore. And then he told me, you should choose one. You either go all out and be an artist, or go all out and be a fashion photographer. Choose one. And I think that was the best thing I could have heard around that time, because I just needed that go. I just needed one person to tell me, Merlin, go. And right after that day, I went full in on becoming an artist. Not an erotic photographer. I wanted to become an artist. But erotic photography, I'm already doing it. So let's, take it to the next level. Let's go, let's take it even further. So I'm doing erotic photography right now. I'm doing a lot of series. And around this time, remember I said I'm not going to be a fashion photographer anymore. I'm going to be an artist. And to me, being an artist means you can do whatever you want, no matter the medium. Back when I was 11, 10 years old, 12, 13, 14, even forever, I've always wanted to be a performer. I performed since I was a kid. Like before photography, before graphic design, before anything, I was performing. Like that was my first love. So at the time, I said, I'm gonna be a performer. I'm going to rap, act, sing, dance, whatever it is. I'm going to perform. I'm going to create characters and I'm going to perform. And the first character in mind was this guy named Disco Man. I made a song for him. We did a music video. We did another music video. And those songs and videos, they are very bad, looking back at them. But I had to do them. I had to do those videos and songs because I had to earn my stripes. Everything you do, you have to suck in the beginning. I had to earn my stripes. So this is 2019. I feel out of love with photography at this point. I don't want to be an erotic photographer. I don't want to be a fashion photographer. I want to be a performer. And this is the perfect time that I'm having this, identity dilemma because COVID happens. We're on lockdown. Late 2019. Lockdown happens. Perfect. I was very unhappy with the song that I made for Disco Man. And I was like, okay, this is the perfect time that I could just, go into hiding and just teach myself how to sing, write as many songs as I can. So from 2019 and until now even, I'm still a student in music. I'm still creating a lot of songs. I'm still learning a lot about music. I'm still a student, But around this time, I remembered as I was doing this, a lot of people around me were telling me to quit the music and only do photography. That's what I'm only good at. And that, me being me, that made me want to quit photography completely and solely focus on music. I remember for a short period, I was literally thinking I'm just gonna stop photography completely, let it be a thing of the past, and devote myself completely to music. But I don't want anybody to dictate what I do. So photography, I love photography. It's a huge part of my artistry. So I decided I'm going to do both. I'm going to do both photography and singing. So 2020 comes, I'm releasing music and I'm doing erotic photography. I didn't want to do erotic photography anymore. I wanted to start doing more narrative work, more philosophical work, spiritual based works. But I built a following around erotic photography. So I felt like I had to continue it and transition slowly into doing narrative work. So this is what I've been doing for the past 4 years pretty much. 2021 comes and my perspective is clear now. My vision is becoming more directed. I started having more specific ideas. I started using more elements and I got into Photoshop much more heavier. I started using 3D. My work was getting better. I didn't expect it to get better, but I was just doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. I did a lot of work during that time. In 2022, finally we are here, the Cards of Merlin. This is the idea that brings us here to this episode right now. I always wanted to create my own fictional universe like Marvel or DC. Remember in the beginning, I told you my favorite artists back then were Boyce Vallejo, Julie Bell, Joe Jusko, and many others that were doing designs for Marvel or DC. And around that time, I wanted to be a digital artist solely so I could create my own universe with my own characters and my own stories. I wanted to do my own version of Marvel, my own version of DC. I realized I could do it with photography 2016, which is why I started doing the Monica, Jerome, and Chardonnay stuff, the character work. I realized I could do that in 2016. And then the idea did fade out after a while. But then 2022, I finally figured out how I could do it. And it's through this idea here right now, MURLIN TV. So basically with my style, I decided the planets could represent different higher dimensional races. It's based on astrology. I am a huge fan of spirituality and philosophy. So here we are now in the present moment, and in the present moment, I do not consider myself a fashion photographer, nor do I consider myself an erotic photographer. I consider myself an artist, an entertainer. I want to entertain. I want to give you guys a lot of content. I want to give you guys comics. I want to give you guys music. I want to give you guys videos. I want to give you guys film. I want to give you guys anything that could entertain you and give you something to think about, put a smile on your face. I'm going to keep you stimulated. I see a lot of possibilities for this idea. I think we could take this so far.